morning of August 13th, 1986, Michael Morton left his home in Williamson County, Texas, and went to work. When he returned later that day, he found his wife, Christine Morton, dead on the floor of their bedroom. She had been beaten. Within days, Michael Morton became the primary suspect. Within months, he would be convicted of murder. He would spend nearly 25 years in prison for a crime he did not commit. Michael Morton was 32 years old at the time. He worked as a software salesman. He was married. He was the father of a 3-year-old son. Friends described him as reserved and methodical. There was no documented history of domestic violence, no prior criminal record. The Mortons' marriage had been strained but not outwardly volatile. On the morning of the murder, Michael left for work early, as he did most weekdays. Christine stayed home with their young son. At some point after Michael left, Christine was attacked inside the home. The exact time of death was never conclusively established. When Michael returned later that morning, he discovered her body and immediately contacted authorities. From the beginning, investigators treated the case as a domestic homicide. There were no signs of forced entry. The crime occurred inside the home. Christine's husband was the last known adult with her. The investigation narrowed quickly, but physical evidence failed to support that conclusion. Michael Morton had no blood on his clothing, no visible injuries, no wounds consistent with a violent struggle. There was no murder weapon recovered from him, no eyewitness placing him at the scene, no confession. At the same time, police reports documented information that pointed in a different direction. A neighbour reported seeing a suspicious man near the Morton home on the morning of the murder. Another report described a green van parked in the area around the same time. Christine's credit card was later used after her death. These details suggested the possibility of an intruder. They were documented police reports. None of this information was disclosed to the defence. Instead, investigators built their case around circumstantial interpretation. They focused on marital strain, on reported arguments, on the assumption that tension had escalated into violence. In 1987, Michael Morton went to trial. The jury never heard about the neighbour's report. They never heard about the green van. They never heard that Christine's credit card had been used after her death. They were never told that police had considered another suspect. Prosecutors argued that Michael killed his wife in a fit of rage. They emphasised motive over evidence. Without access to the full investigative record, the jury convicted Michael Morton of murder. He was sentenced to life in prison. Michael was taken away as his son grew up without him. Inside prison, he maintained his innocence. Appeals were filed. They were denied. Years turned into decades. Outside prison, the real killer remained free, and the evidence that could have identified him sat untested. By the late 1990s and early 2000s, DNA testing began transforming criminal justice. Michael Morton's attorneys repeatedly requested that physical evidence from the crime scene be tested using modern methods. Those requests were resisted. Court proceedings delayed testing. Years passed. Eventually, a court ordered that key evidence be examined. Among the items was a bandana found near the Morton home on the day of the murder. It had been collected early in the investigation. It had been preserved. It had never been tested. When the DNA results came back, they were definitive. The biological material on the bandana did not belong to Michael Morton. It belonged to an unknown male. In 2011, after nearly 25 years in prison, Michael Morton was officially exonerated. He walked free. But the investigation did not end there. The unknown DNA profile was entered into national law enforcement databases. It produced a match. The DNA belonged to a man who had gone on to commit another murder years after Christine Morton's death. Christine Morton's killer had not only escaped justice, he had killed again. The implications were severe. Michael Morton had lost decades of his life. Christine Morton had been denied justice when it mattered most, and the justice system had failed both of them. Attention turned to how the original conviction occurred. It was discovered that the prosecutor in the case, John Bradley, had withheld exculpatory evidence. This was a violation of established law. The evidence he withheld included police reports supporting the possibility of another suspect. Bradley was later found in contempt of court. He was disbarred. It was one of the rare cases in which a prosecutor faced personal consequences for misconduct. Their fallout extended beyond the courtroom. Texas lawmakers passed new legislation strengthening evidence disclosure requirements. The reform became known as the Michael Morton Act. Its purpose was clear: to prevent wrongful convictions caused by withheld evidence. Michael Morton received compensation for the years he spent wrongfully imprisoned. He became an advocate for the wrongly convicted, but no reform could restore what was lost. His wife was gone. His son had grown up without him. Nearly half his adult life had been taken. The Michael Morton case is now taught in law schools across the country. It is cited as a warning, not about malice, but about certainty without truth. Wrongful convictions do not require bad intentions, they require tunnel vision, withheld evidence, and a system unwilling to question itself. This case was solved not through confession, but through persistence, through evidence preserved, through technology that arrived decades too late. Michael Morton did not get his life back, but his case changed the system that failed him. This investigation is based on court records, DNA evidence, and documented legal findings. No reenactments, no speculation, only facts. If you value real investigations like this, you can subscribe to NightFiles. New cases are released regularly.